how do you write your jokes? What's your process?
Pen?
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 Fucking pen?
I use a pen.
Pen?
How do I write my jokes? You talking about how they come up for me, or what technique do I use?
From the beginning, what's like the first initial idea? How do you write it down, and then how do you hash it out and then perform it?
Sometimes I feel like the gag comes up before the setup.
What do you mean?
So the punchline is the first thing that comes to mind.
Right.
Like, oh, that's funny, but how do I get to that now? So like work backwards.
Okay.
Basically, sometimes.
Yeah.
So something might happen and you might go, oh, that's a funny moment, but I can't just say that moment on stage without giving it context. So then you start to write the story to it or the journey to get to that punchline.
Yeah.
These days, I utilize notes a lot to write just the essence of the gag. Then I'll go back and I'll flesh it out as a fully worded script. But then I'll go and start trimming, going back and trim because there'll be a lot of
fat.
Yeah, a lot of fat there. Yeah, a lot of just stuff that's going to waste time.
Right.
Because as you know, you've got to get to the gag quick.
Right.
I mean, unless it's a great setup.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
I had to do it.
Unless it's a great setup. You got to get to the gag quick, because I was taught as well that if you don't get to the gag quick, people are clever. They start to work out what the gag is in their head.
Yeah.
And once they've worked out the punchline in their head, it's gone.
Yeah.
That's when you don't get the laugh. So you got to get to the punchline quick.
Right.
Unless the setup is really magnificent,
Really,
right?
right?
And sometimes you have a magnificent story.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But sometimes no, it's just the punchline that's good, but you got to get to it quick.
I wish I could trim fat as much as I can trim fat on jokes as quick.
Mate, like you said, got to keep working at it, right? But yeah, you surprise yourself how much stuff you don't need to say.
Yeah,
You know?
I was just talking about
and just keep trimming words and trimming words and then moving words
Swapping
around.
them.
People don't understand the complexity of why a joke works when it works.
Yeah.
You understand it because
I
you do
do,
comedy,
yeah.
right? But a lot of people out there don't understand why.
How would you explain that to someone? Like the complexity of it.
It is a hard one to
Yeah.
explain. Like, I mean, you take a gag and sometimes it's just the movement of one word.
Yeah.
And then, of course, delivery has its own thing.
Timing,
but the timing,
presence,
and right?
eye
and
contact.
the acting of the joke,
Yeah.
right? But the movement of certain words can make or break a joke.
Yeah.
Some inexperienced comics, or comics that are starting out, when you hear their sets, you hear that there's potential there, but they haven't learned structure yet.
Yeah.
And the structure is not there because they're kind of giving away the punchline like before they get to it.
Yeah.
And you got to be careful of that. Like you're saying too much.
Yeah.
You're saying too much. We've worked it out. We know where this is going. We know where the twist is going to be.
Yeah.
So the twist obviously needs to happen without us knowing it's going to. It's misdirection. Everything's misdirection, right?
Yeah.
You take them in one way and then bang, you're taking them the other way where they didn't think. Not every gag is misdirection, of course.
Sometimes
but it's a common formula is misdirection.
Right.
Much like a magician.
Yeah. Yeah, same thing.
Magic isn't real. It's not that real.
Comedy's not
It's
real
not,
either.
It's not real. It's misdirection. It's an illusion. It's an illusion.
It's an illusion.
It's a wordy illusion.
That's true, because actually comedy is actually an illusion too. That's what, at least that's the way I see it. Because what I mean by that is when you're doing comedy, you make the audience feel like you're coming up with this shit on the spot.
Oh, of course.
That's what makes a great comedian.
It's got to come up as if you're having a chat, right?
But they don't know.
No.
We've been writing this shit and performing it hundreds of times.
And that's all in the delivery.
Yeah. It's all in the delivery.
That's all in the delivery.
Yeah. Being comfortable on stage.
And that takes practice. And it takes time and
stage time.
Stage time.
Literally stage time.
Takes time.
Getting
It
up
takes
on stage
stage time.
as much as possible. I've
Yeah.
really heavily experienced that for myself this past month. Doing all the Fringe festivals, bro.
And how many? I saw you put up online. You've already done like 100 and something spots.
I counted. It's pretty much roughly that number, but yeah, it's like 107 sets
incredible.
I've done in the past 2 months.
Yeah.
And that's more than I've done in the past year and a bit of stand-up.
That's incredible.
But that's what that takes. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's only like I've been only doing like 3-4 jokes.
Yeah, yeah.
But like the progression from the beginning till now is
Yeah.
like that's how you get shit to get better faster.
Of course.
By getting up as much as you can.
Because you're practicing constantly.
That's it.
Yeah, you can't be doing stand up and only doing it 3 times a year.
No.
You're not
How
gonna,
the hell
you're not going to get better.
Never.
You know, and you need small audiences, you need big audiences,
Everything.
You need the tough rooms, you need the good rooms.
Yep.
You need them all. You
Yep.
need every experience. It's a bit like learning to drive. A good driver probably learned to drive in all different conditions, right?
True. Good point.
That's how you learn. You learn in traffic. You learn in the wet. You learn when the sun, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You got to learn. That's how you become a better driver.
Yeah. Drive in India and Asia. Come back here. You'll drive like a king.
That's right. That's
You-
right.
you
Even
drive-
Europe, even Italy.
Italy
Like,
is bad over there?
crazy. Oh yeah,
Really?
crazy.
People don't know how to drive?
But funnily enough, I'd never see an accident there. I'm sure they happen, but I'd never
Yeah,
see one.
yeah,
Here you see them all the time.
Really? Yeah. I haven't seen it.
I'm a driver. You're not driving. I'm on the roads.
Oh, right.
But you're
yeah.
not driving.
No, we don't drive here, but yeah.
Yeah. Here, I mean.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
do
not necessarily nasty accidents all the time,
Yeah, of
but
course,
just
of course.
accidents.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
Interesting.
the stage time is really important, and just learning the formula of constructing a gag and constructing a joke.
Yeah.
And there are different ways, of course. And then delivery. Look, see, here's the thing, Neema. Some people can write a great joke, but can't deliver it, and
vice versa, too.
and they become writers instead
Right.
for other people
Yeah.
because they're great writers,
Right.
Great joke
But
writers,
you can't
but
perform.
they're not performers.
I know.
But you got to have a bit of everything, right?
I know. Yeah.
So-
But I think if you already naturally are better at performing, you can develop a better
You
writing
can
skill.
learn more writing
But
skills.
you can't say the same for vice versa.
No, probably not. No.
For the most part.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, I
it
tend to
could
agree.
eventually, but like not as much as the
it
other
takes
way around.
it takes time.
Yeah, that's why I'm grateful, it's the same thing for you, I'm sure, because you have a very good stage presence on stage. Like when I first saw you a few weeks ago, it reminds me of myself too, because I feel like I'm way more of a performer than I'm a writer.
Yeah,
and I don't know
yeah.
how it is for you, but you're definitely like a performer. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
So-
I think I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm primarily a performer before a writer.
Right.
But I write for myself, as you write for yourself,
Yeah.
I'm sure. But I probably wouldn't consider myself a writer to go
Like a
out there
traditional
writing
writer.
for
That's
other
what I'm saying.
people. Yeah, correct.
because
Yeah.
you understand your talents and like your abilities to perform on stage and like use your body and physicality, right?
Yeah, sure.
Which gets you pretty far with your comedy.
Sure.
Which is not a bad thing at all.
No,
I think it's
because
great.
you use what's strongest to you.
Yeah. And then that's when you're being true to yourself, and that's what's gonna heavily rub off onto the audience, and they're gonna see that because I think
Yeah.
humans aren't dumb either.
Yeah.
They can see they can sense the energy if you're being fake or not.
Oh yeah. 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
They can smell it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know, and that's why stand up is such a vulnerable thing. Where I mean, they can smell fear and nervousness
Yeah.
as well.
Oh yeah.
You know,
For sure.
And that
Easily.
when you're starting out, of course, that happens.
Yeah, it's natural,
And
yeah.
again, takes time.
Takes
the
time.
more stage time you do,
Yeah.
the more relaxed you get on stage.
Yeah.
And then when you do have a weak spot or a weak set,
Yeah.
it doesn't affect you as much because you can still have delivered confidently
Right.
and still had a weak set.
True. Exactly.
But at least the people go,
Oh.
I didn't gravitate to the
Right.
humor,
But
but I can recognize that this comic has done a lot,
Yeah.
has done a lot of experience
sure.
before.
I think that's something I learned from what's his name? Yo, what's Russell Peters' opener?
That's you.
Lachlan. Yeah. Lachlan Patterson.
Yeah.
He's a comic from somewhere in the US.
Yeah.
But he opens for Russell. He's opening for Russell like pretty much most of his last tour.
Right.
And that when I opened for Russell one of the couple of nights, I was asking him, I was like, yo, what's your advice on like, doing a show this big? And like, what jokes do I do? Right. Whatever. And he's like, man, honestly, you're overthinking it. It doesn't matter what you do. Just do whatever you think is funny and sell that joke like it's the best joke they've ever heard. Mm-hmm. And ever since then, I've kind of had that in the back of my head. And I don't know if you see it that way, but it's a really good way that I've learned to see it.
Well, selling a joke is just about knowing your material well, being confident. Mm-hmm. And yeah, absolutely, you got to sell a joke. I mean, I always think it's got to genuinely make you laugh to potentially make them laugh.
Yeah, yeah.
If you're half baked about a joke,
Yeah.
it's probably there's a good chance that's the response you're going to get.
Yeah.
Now that theory doesn't always work.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time, it's got to make you really laugh.
100%.
You've got to believe in it, right? You've got to believe in this material in the joke.
Yeah.
If you kind of go, oh yeah, I believe in that one. Yeah, that one. Yeah. Even if you're just trying it out, you still got to try it out with confidence. You still got to try it out for the first time, believing that this is funny.
Yeah.
You'll soon find out 100%. If it is or isn't. But
because if you don't believe in it, then they're not going to believe it.
If you don't believe in it, you're not going to deliver it with belief. Because in the back of your mind, you're in two minds about the joke.
I know. Yeah.
So sometimes like you come up with something and go, I could be funny, it could be not. I probably wouldn't risk it because it's not exciting me, that gag.
How often do you write?
Look, I don't have sort of a set time limit through the week that I will dedicate to writing.
Yeah.
But I think as comics, we're constantly writing because things pop into our heads all the time.
Right.
Now, if we're writing if we're writing a new show, then we might dedicate a schedule to writing, to keep us on track. But I'd say throughout the week, even on a daily basis, I'm coming up with a concept or an idea that I might want to explore, and I can. If I've got the time, I'll flesh it out. Right. Otherwise, I'll just write the note about it.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
But I'm not sort of sitting there going, I'm going to dedicate 2 hours today to writing.
Interesting. Why is that? You just
I honestly time.
Yeah?
I manage myself as well.
Oh right, yeah. It's a lot of work.
It's very difficult to find time.
Yeah.
But I find that it just suits me to come up with the concepts, and then when I've got a gig coming up,
right,
I'll do what I do, and then I'll see if I want to add in.
Yeah.
I want to try a new gag, and then I'll work on that.